They told you women are a mystery, that love is about fairness, equality, and giving everything you have. From childhood, you were fed the same script. Be kind, be generous, be patient, give her your whole heart, and eventually she'll give hers back. But Machiavelli would laugh at that lie. Because the truth is this: there are emotional gaps inside women so primal, so predictable, that once you understand them, you hold an unfair advantage. Now, let me be clear. These are not cheap tricks. This is not about manipulation or memorizing lines or pretending to be someone you're not. These are psychological levers etched into human nature. For centuries, men who understood these levers were the ones who quietly held the power. They were not the desperate ones sending paragraph-long texts at 2 a.m. They were not the ones showering women with endless compliments only to be ignored. No, these were the men women chased. The men women couldn't stop thinking about. The men who seemed untouchable, even when they gave so little away. And why? Because they didn't fight on the surface level. They went deeper. They saw the hidden gaps in human psychology, the cracks that everyone tries to cover up, but can't. And when you can see those cracks, you don't just play the game, you control it. The men who master these emotional gaps rise above the desperate majority. While everyone else is left confused, rejected, and ignored, these men move with calmness and certainty. They don't chase attention. Attention chases them. They don't beg for love. Love bends toward them. And here's the part that most men will never grasp. This is not about being cruel. This is not about exploiting women. It's about finally seeing the truth. That attraction is not built on constant giving or blind devotion. It's built on understanding the deep, unspoken rules that women themselves may never admit. So pay close attention, because once you hear these 5 emotional gaps, you will never see women, relationships, or attraction in the same way again. You'll understand why some men get ghosted while others get pursued, why some men fade into the background while others become unforgettable, and why, if you're willing to master these gaps, you will step into a position of power that Machiavelli himself would admire. This isn't romance, this isn't fantasy, this is strategy. And strategy is what separates the average man from the man who rewrites the rules. Gap 1. The validation fix. Let's begin with the most powerful of them all, the addiction to validation. Every man senses it, but few truly understand it. Compliments, attention, likes, DM stares in public. These things light up her brain with the same chemical hit as a drug, dopamine, the exact chemical released when someone takes cocaine, only in smaller doses. That's why I call validation her currency. It buys her happiness, even if just for a moment. It reassures her value in the world. But like any currency, if you flood the market, it loses its worth. If you hand it out endlessly, it becomes worthless. Now think about this. Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful women, the ones who receive nonstop compliments, end up with men who don't worship them? Men who don't bow at their feet? That isn't luck. That isn't randomness. It's chemistry. When she gets validation every second of the day, she builds a tolerance, just like a smoker who needs more cigarettes to feel the same relief, just like an addict who needs a stronger dose to feel the same high. And eventually, she doesn't even notice the praise anymore. It's just background noise. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment you pull back, when you make validation scarce, her brain flips into survival mode. She enters what scientists call reward prediction error. Her brain says, wait, where did the compliment go? Why isn't he saying it this time? I need that fix. And suddenly you've separated yourself from 99% of men. While they are desperate, pouring out praise like cheap wine, you are the one who controls the tap. And the man who controls the flow controls the craving. Think of validation as a bank account. Every compliment is a deposit. Every pause, every silence, every moment of indifference is a withdrawal. Most men are broke within days. They keep making massive deposits, thinking the more they give, the richer their love will be. But Machiavelli would call them fools, because true power doesn't come from giving everything at once. It comes from strategic scarcity. The golden rule: 70% of the time, you give her approval, sincere, specific, and earned. 30% of the time, You hold back. You let silence do the work. You let mystery breathe. But here's the secret that separates amateurs from masters. Don't limit your compliments to her beauty. That's what every desperate man does. Instead, praise what few notice. Her intelligence, her creativity, her courage when she makes a hard choice. These land on a deeper level because they target her need to feel valued for who she is, not just what she looks like. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." The same applies here. Promise validation, but never drown her in it. Give enough to keep her secure, withhold enough to keep her hungry. Because here's the danger. If you give too much, you bore her. If you give too little, you build resentment. But if you balance it just right, she will chase you for the next dose. And when she does, you're no longer just another man giving away validation. You've become the rare one who makes her earn it. And that's where true power lies. Gap 2, the paradox of uncertainty. Now let's move to the second emotional gap. And this one is more dangerous than the first, because it's a paradox. Women claim they want certainty, security, a man who is always there. They'll even swear that what they crave most is predictability and safety. But here's the Machiavellian truth. The very thing they say they want is the very thing that kills their attraction. Why? Because a predictable man is a boring man. You've seen it happen. The guy who replies to every message instantly. The man who reveals every detail about his life. The one who is so transparent, so consistent, so available, that he removes all tension. He leaves no questions. And when there are no questions left, the game is over. The human mind doesn't crave answers. It craves mystery. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. It means our brains become obsessed with incomplete stories, with unanswered questions. And women are no different. When she knows exactly what to expect from you, her mind relaxes. And a relaxed mind is a bored mind. Here's where the paradox lies. She believes she wants certainty, but her chemistry thrives on uncertainty. That's why she ignores the nice guy who's perfectly available and obsesses over the man who remains just out of reach. Not because she's cruel, but because her brain is wired to chase unfinished stories. So what does this mean for you? It means you must reveal yourself like a Netflix series. Every episode gives enough to hook you, but never enough to resolve the entire story. Think of it this way. Don't lay your whole life on the table. Show 70% of who you are. Keep 30% in the shadows. Let her wonder. Let her ask. Let her imagination work overtime. When she asks about your past, don't dump your whole biography. Instead, give a small, intriguing detail. Then pivot. When she asks about your future, share your vision, but not every step of the plan. Let her lean forward. Let her want the next chapter. But here's the warning. Uncertainty must be authentic. If you have no depth, no purpose, no story, then your mystery is empty. Women can smell fabricated drama a mile away. Real mystery comes from being a man with layers, someone building something meaningful, someone not defined by her approval. Want a practical example? When she asks, "What did you do today?" Don't say, "I woke up, went to work, had lunch, and came home." That's dead weight. Instead, say, "I had a meeting that could change a few things for me." Then change the subject. Her brain will instantly lock onto the gaps. What meeting? Change what things? Why won't he tell me? You've planted a cliffhanger, and now she's hooked. Or when you talk about your work, don't bore her with spreadsheets and schedules. Share your passion, a challenge you faced, a strange encounter, a win, a story with edges left open. Because here's the real Machiavellian lesson. The prince who reveals all his cards loses his power to maneuver. The same is true with women. If she can fully read you, she loses incentive to explore you. But when you master this paradox, something powerful happens. She starts investing mental energy into you. She starts wondering where you are, what you're thinking, what you're doing. She starts chasing, not because you disappeared, but because you revealed just enough to leave her thirsty for more. And here's the time frame you must understand. You have about 90 days. 90 days to prove that your mystery has depth. 90 days to show that behind your shadows is a man of real substance. If not, mystery turns into frustration, and she'll walk away. So be clear, uncertainty is not about games. It's about pacing. It's about never giving everything away at once. And when you master this, you become the man she can't stop thinking about even when you're gone. Gap 3, the competitive instinct. Now we arrive at the third emotional gap, and this one is primal. It runs deeper than validation, deeper than uncertainty. It's hardwired into human survival. The truth is this: women are competitive by nature, and nothing captures their attention faster than knowing other women desire you. It doesn't matter if she denies it in public. Watch closely, and you'll see it. The moment another woman shows interest in you, her behavior changes. Suddenly, the man she overlooked yesterday becomes the man she can't ignore today. Why? Because for thousands of years, women have evolved to identify and compete for the highest value men. And one of the clearest signs of value is that other women already recognize it. Think of it like social proof. A man standing alone at a bar is invisible. That same man, surrounded by women laughing at his words, becomes magnetic. He hasn't changed, but her perception of his value has. Machiavelli knew this principle well. He wrote that a prince who built multiple alliances had more power than one who depended on a single loyalty. Why? Because it proved others desired his favor. The same principle applies here. The man who is desired by many is subconsciously deemed more valuable. But here's the danger. Most men misunderstand this. They think they have to flaunt women around or flirt in her face to prove value. That's not strategy. That's desperation. True competitive instinct is triggered not by artificial stunts, but by genuine scarcity. You become scarce when you are not available to every woman. You become scarce when your life is so rich, so attractive, so full of purpose, that people naturally gravitate toward you. When you walk into a room and women feel comfortable talking to you, not because you chase them, but because you're magnetic, that's when she notices. And here is the subtle but devastating twist. It's not about making her jealous. It's about making her feel chosen. She must see that you could be with other women, but you chose her. That distinction is everything. When she feels that you have options, her brain switches into retention mode. It says, "This man is valuable. Other women see it. I must work harder to keep him." That's when she invests more energy, more time, more emotion into the relationship. But just like with validation and uncertainty, there's a balance. If you push this too far, if you constantly remind her of other women, she won't feel attraction. She'll feel insecurity and resentment. If you push too little, she'll assume you have no value. So here's how the master plays it. He lives a life that attracts people naturally. He is charming, approachable, and charismatic in social situations. He doesn't shrink back when women talk to him. He doesn't overcompensate by ignoring them. He's simply himself. Interesting, engaging, alive. And women notice. Imagine this. You're at a social gathering. Another woman asks your opinion on something. You answer with confidence, warmth, and ease. You don't flirt. You don't pull away. You simply exist as a man who is respected and desired. She sees this. And whether she admits it or not, it triggers something deep within her. Because here's the Machiavellian secret. The battlefield of desire is not fought in isolation. It's fought in the presence of rivals. A woman does not measure your value only by how you treat her. She measures it by how the world responds to you. So understand this. Competition is not about games. It's not about jealousy. It's about perception. The moment she realizes other women could have you, but don't, it makes her hunger for you more. But if you want her to stay hooked, she must never forget the final detail. You are not with her because she is your only choice. You are with her because she is the one you chose. And that is a distinction powerful enough to ignite obsession. Gap 4, emotional leadership. Gap number 4 is not about words. It's not about compliments, mystery, or competition. It's about something far more rare. Emotional leadership. Most men fail here, and they fail because they don't understand their role. When she is anxious, they panic with her. When she is angry, they argue back. When she is stressed, they scramble, desperate to fix every detail. But Machiavelli understood a timeless truth. Power does not belong to the one who reacts. It belongs to the one who remains calm when everyone else loses their balance. Look at history. The rulers who commanded loyalty weren't the loudest or the most emotional. They were the ones who kept their composure in the storm. When chaos broke loose, they stood unmoved. And that calmness inspired trust, devotion, and even love. The same is true in your relationship. Because whether she admits it or not, she does not want you to sink into her emotions. She wants you to be the rock she can rest on, the anchor when she feels lost at sea. Here's where most men go wrong. When she vents about a bad day, they rush to fix it. They fire off solutions. They try to erase her stress. But she doesn't need a rescuer. She needs a leader. And leadership doesn't mean coldness. It doesn't mean ignoring her feelings. It means guiding the storm without becoming the storm. It means staying composed while she unravels. Practical example? She comes home frustrated about work. Instead of panicking or throwing out half-baked advice, you say, "That sounds really frustrating. Tell me more about what happened." Do you see the shift? You're not rushing to fix. You're not making it about you. You're giving her space to release while showing her, through your calmness, that everything is still under control. And here's the deeper truth. When you refuse to let her chaos disturb your balance, you give her the one thing she cannot give herself in that moment: stability. Now let me be clear. This is not about being a stone wall. It's not about being detached or cold. Emotional leadership means caring deeply, but from a place of strength, not weakness. Because here's what happens when you fail this test. If she comes home anxious and you get anxious too, you double her burden. If she panics and you panic with her, she loses faith in your ability to lead. She feels like she has to carry both her emotions and yours. And in that moment, attraction dies. But when you master this, everything changes. She realizes she can express her deepest fears and you won't collapse. She realizes she can cry, shout, vent, and you will still remain solid. And that is when respect enters the relationship. Respect deeper than desire. Respect that transforms attraction into loyalty. Machiavelli wrote that a leader must inspire confidence by appearing steadfast, even when storms rage around him. For the prince, this was the foundation of power. For you, it is the foundation of desire. So remember this. Women don't need you to fight their battles. They don't need you to fix every detail. They need you to be the anchor, the grounding force, the calm center in the middle of the storm. Because once you give her that, she won't just love you, she'll follow you. Gap 5, psychological personalization. And now the fifth and final emotional gap, the one that separates amateurs from masters. It is the most sophisticated of all, because it demands more than tactics. It demands understanding. Psychological personalization. You see, not all women are the same. Some are consumed by validation, others thrive on uncertainty, some burn with competition, others simply need the calmness of leadership. But here's the fatal mistake most men make. They treat every woman as if she were identical. They apply the same lines, the same strategies, the same approach, over and over again. And then they wonder why it stops working. The Machiavellian man does not repeat blindly. He studies, he observes, he listens. He identifies which emotional gap dominates her mind, and then he tailors his presence to fit it. This is the essence of personalization. How do you know which one dominates her? Watch her patterns. If she constantly asks how she looks, seeks your reassurance, or needs your approval for decisions, her weakness is validation. If she gets restless when you don't respond immediately, demands answers to every question, or pushes you to reveal everything, her gap is uncertainty. If she brings up other women, asks about your exes, or bristles at even casual female attention, her crack is competition. And if she falls apart emotionally and waits to see whether you remain calm or collapse with her, her need is leadership. Do you see the power here? Once you identify her dominant gap, you no longer waste energy where it isn't needed. You direct your influence with precision. This is why Machiavelli wrote that a prince must adapt his methods to the times. What worked yesterday may not work today, and what works with one woman may fail completely with another. The fool applies the same rule everywhere. The strategist adjusts. But here's the crucial part. Personalization is not about exploitation. It's not about using her insecurities to control her. That is the path of the manipulator. And manipulation always collapses under its own weight. Instead, personalization is about depth. It's about seeing her clearly, sometimes more clearly than she sees herself. It's about understanding her wiring so thoroughly that you can connect with her in the way she most needs, not just the way she says she does. And here's the paradox. When you approach it with integrity, what began as power transforms into something greater. Respect, loyalty, even devotion. Because once a woman feels you understand her at this level, something remarkable happens. She cannot replace you. Any man can compliment her. Any man can give her attention. Any man can play games. But very few can read her code. Very few can make her feel seen on a level deeper than surface beauty. That is what makes you unforgettable. So remember this. Personalization is mastery. It is the final lever that ties all the others together. Validation, uncertainty, competition, leadership. These are the tools. But personalization is the art of knowing which tool to use and when. And when you master that, you don't just win her attraction. You don't just capture her interest. You secure her loyalty. You secure her respect. You secure her soul. And that, my friend, is what Machiavelli would call true power.